an alle unsere lieben Zuschauer und Zuhörer. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our listeners and viewers tonight. Thank you again for joining us once more, and welcome back to our INCRadio Central Europe Satellite Studio. I am Sister Alicia Faith Bartolome, tuning in live from Heidelberg, Germany in Central Europe, and I will be your host for tonight. We have a lot of exciting things to go over in our broadcast for tonight. As usual, we have our German is Fun planned on for later on, all of your favorite segments, as well as CFO in Action and our announcement of our top 3 clusters at the end. So make sure to stay tuned for that, and make sure to keep commenting and mention the hashtag of your cluster so that you may be included into the top 3 clusters challenge for next week, Sunday. Before we jump into our topic, and before I announce our topic for tonight, I would love to introduce first our panel. So first, let's stay here in Germany, specifically in Bonn. We have a brother there waiting for us. Hi, brother.
Hallo zusammen, danke Alicia für die Einladung. Mein Name ist Adrian Bustos, ich bin 28 Jahre alt und wie gesagt, wie Alicia es gesagt hat, ich komme aus Bonn, Bezirk Zentraleuropa, und meine Dienste in der Kirche sind Chor, Organist und CWS-Lehrer. Vielen Dank, dass ich hier sein darf.
Thank you again, Adrian, for joining us. He has, as you may have heard for our German speakers, he has many offices, one of them being in the choir and an organist, and he is very excited to be with us in our broadcast as well. While we are in Central Europe, we do have to fly all the way to a different country. We have someone else waiting for us. Hello.
Hi, hello, good evening, Alicia. Good evening, Adrian. And I'm indeed very happy to be with you again for another broadcast on INCRadio Satellite Studio, Central Europe. Well, Central Europe is still my home. And when we say Heimat, das ist im Herzen. Heimat ist im Herzen. Home is in the heart, right? Yeah, okay. So thank you so much. I'm really honored that you have invited me once again, and you have a very interesting topic this evening. So everyone out there, please stay with us till the end of the program, because this is something that you might need or you might find very useful when you travel to Europe. Okay, back to you, Alicia.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Malou, for joining us once more in our INCRadio Satellite Studio. So, as Ms. Malou has already mentioned, we do have quite the interesting topic planned for tonight. So, before I continue, our time check right now is 7:03 p.m. right here in Central Europe. I will be announcing now our topic, which is the timeless beauty, exploring the artistic and architectural treasures of Central Europe. So for all of our travel lovers here, make sure to leave in the comment section your most visited hidden gems or anything that stood out to you in its architecture or in its artistic perspective. Which is why we'll be starting first with our icebreaker. If Kwiatek can show us our icebreaker already. We will be having our icebreaker, which is actually, I assume, in line with our topic. So we once more have one of our favorite games we like to play as our icebreaker, which is the Zoom In Challenge. So these are all architecture related. It'll be a zoomed in image, and we have to guess as the panel what the object or the subject is in that image that will be shown. So if Kwiatek, if we can show the first image already, so we can start guessing. I think I already know. I already know what it is.
Ich kenne es.
Adrian, go ahead.
Philharmonie in Hamburg.
Yes. Okay, wait. Before I think, what is it, Kwiatek? If you can show us the answer, what it is. Yes, it is the Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg. Great job. That was I knew it as well. As soon as I saw it. For those who do not know, the Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg is a opera hall or a orchestra hall where there are concerts held. It's also pretty newly established. Not that new, but I believe Adrian will tell us more about it later in the topic. But thank you so much. Next slide or next picture, please, Korea Tech.
Oh, the
Oh,
two houses. And that is in Rotterdam.
I think we all know these. Korea Tech, if we could have the answer to this one. Yes, very good. It is the Cube houses in Rotterdam. We're already starting off very well. We already know all of these beautiful architectural landmarks already. More to that as well. So fitting to our topic. Korea Tech, can we have the next image, please? What is this one? Does anybody know? Miss Malou or Adrian?
Oh, is it in Central Europe or is it in the Czech Republic?
I believe it is in Central Europe.
It is?
Yes, it is. So this one's hard. This could be we have a lot of architectural clocks here in Central Europe. So
Give us a clue. Is it in Northern Germany, Southern Germany?
Surprisingly, I am also guessing with you as well. I do not know the answer to this one either. Should we ask Korea Tech for the answer already? No one? Okay, Korea Tech, can you help us, please? It is it's in Switzerland, not in Germany.
Okay. I knew it was a tower, but I couldn't place it.
Oh yeah, that was a harder one for sure. Okay. We were off to a good start. Maybe with the next image, Korea Tech, if we can have the next one. Maybe we'll know this one. Oh, I cannot see. Are you able to see? Maybe it is on here. No? Okay. Maybe that was already it from our slides. But great job. We got 2 out of 3. That is the majority from all of them. But yeah, we all knew those, and we actually will be talking about those soon enough. So let's jump right into our topic conversation. So we all love exploring. We all love seeing new things when we visit new cities, right? So I want to ask Adrian first. When we talk about architecture and art in general, what's the most striking piece of architecture or art you've seen in Central Europe, and what made it stand out to you?
Oh, es sind sehr viele schwere Entscheidungen, aber was mich mehr inspiriert hat, war Hamburg, weil es hat sehr viele Architekturen, vor allem eins von meinen Favoriten, Elbphilharmonie, vor allem auch das Rathaus, was in der Stadt sich befindet. Und ja, das sind die Dinge, was mich in Hamburg sehr inspiriert hat.
Yes, we actually had, for those who did see in our icebreaker, the Elbphilharmonie is very architecturally different, let's say. Very one of the modern architectures in Hamburg. And when, as Adrian mentioned, when he visited Hamburg, Hamburg is a very beautiful city. Every city is beautiful. It is beautiful in its own way, as every city is, right? So one of the other things he mentioned was also the town hall or the city hall, which is also not one of the newer or modern ones, which is very different from the Elbphilharmonie, which is the concert or the orchestra hall. I believe Miss Malou has, I bet, more to say about that, right?
Okay. Yeah. In addition to what you just said about the Elbphilharmonie, I think I read that it's on top of a warehouse. It's built on top of a warehouse. Yeah. And if you take a boat tour, let's say, because Hamburg has a very big port, yeah, you will see the building, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. Okay. So, well, if it's my turn now to talk about architecture, yeah, fortunately, I had a chance uh, to get informed about the different architectural styles in Germany and in other countries in Europe. This was during my training in Munich. So we studied the different art movements, starting with antiquity, and then moving on to the Romanesque style, and then to the Gothic, to the Renaissance, followed by the Baroque, Rococo, and then Romantic movement, and so on. And what's very interesting, and especially I would like to call the attention of our viewers who are joining us or tuned in to us right now, that if you're planning to travel here to Europe, you will have an exciting journey through the different times or different timelines. And you will always hear the tour guides talking about the architecture. So it's really very important because behind the architectural style, there is the story of the country or the story of the people. There is a lot of history behind a certain building. For example, if we visit the castle of Heidelberg, you will notice that the building is so massive and you will see arches. Okay, these big arches, they're from the Romanesque period or Romanesque style. You remember the Roman Empire and all that. So one thing that you should remember about that is that these big arches, and you will find that in the different countries here in Europe. And then if you have the Gothic, well, remember the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, all right? And people had to be very religious at that time. So they had their buildings erected vertically and the towers pointing up to the sky. And later on, the people got tired of all these structures and they said, oh, let's go back and bring back the Greek and the Roman art and so on. And later on, okay, so they had these classical buildings where you would have the symmetry. One architectural building, of course, that you would remember, which is classical, okay, would be the one on Acropolis, the Parthenon. But of course, that was built during the time of, the glorious period of Greece. Well, there are so many things that you can see in Europe, and I cannot say that this is my favorite, that is my favorite. Everything was my favorite because each building has its own story. Just like a person has his or her own story to share. And it's really very interesting to talk with a person, get interested in it. So you can do the same whenever you go to different places and see these different structures. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That's actually very interesting. As you said, every artistic or architectural piece has its story behind it. That's why it's very always recommended that when you visit a city or take a tour, you do get that from the tour guide, that history lesson. That's why it's also so, for those who did study art history, I'm sure you know more about it and you know more about each architectural and its meaning behind it and what the architect thought about it at that time and why it was such an innovative piece at the time as well.
Okay.
Um, Right, Miss Malu, as you mentioned in Heidelberg, I'm from Heidelberg. I am sadly not that historically knowledge, but yes, it is very nice to hear those. It's good to have a refresher on art history, right? For those who love history and art so much. I did take it as well in high school. It is nice to hear those terms again and to learn more about each building that you see and each story behind it. So one of the things as well that Adrian mentioned as well, which was the town hall and the Elbphilharmonie, which have also a lot of historical meaning, as even if the Elbphilharmonie is one of the rather newer or modern buildings there are. Adrian, I'd like to ask you, we already know that for those who haven't visited Central Europe or haven't been to Germany, the Elbphilharmonie for you is a hidden gem, and is not very widely known. Since for some it is new. I did not know about it since before I visited Hamburg myself last weekend actually. For you, Adrian, Miss Malu also mentioned you can see the Elbphilharmonie or other sites when going on a boat ride. Could you tell us more about that wonderful boat ride in Hamburg?
Ja, in Hamburg, was ich interessant finde, man kann auch mit öffentlichen Verkehrsmitteln fahren, aber was mich sehr überrascht hat und was ich davon noch nicht gewusst habe, dass die Bootsfahrt zum öffentlichen Verkehrsmittel gehört. Und ich habe es ausprobiert und ich fand es sehr interessant, dass das Boot über den Hafen City gefahren ist und man konnte viele Sehenswürdigkeiten sehen. Auf jeden Fall, für die anderen kann ich es auf jeden Fall empfehlen, dass man auf jeden Fall Hamburg mal besuchen muss.
Yes, that's very, very true, Adrian. He mentioned that there's a lot of public transportation in Germany, right? Or in Europe in general. A lot of ways to get around by train, by bus. But he mentioned that the boat or riding a boat is part of public transportation in Hamburg. So there are different stops at the port or at the harbor that are almost like bus stops when you stop at a specific place. So that I got to experience that as well. I do not recommend for those who visit Hamburg to take the boat ride at -4 degrees Celsius. Because that's what we did. It was very cold. But during the summertime, it's very nice, I believe. And there's one specific route that takes you through the whole harbor. I do not know it from the top of my head, but for those who are interested in visiting Hamburg, all of our Hamburg viewers and listeners who are in the comment section, make sure to leave either your most recommended other places or even the route on which boat to take when you are in Hamburg. It was a once in a lifetime experience. I'd love to do it again. And Adrian mentioned as well how it's not everywhere that you have the boat as a public transportation. We usually know the train or the subway or the or what's it called, the buses or anything else, but no, we don't have in every city a boat at our disposal as public transportation, which is very interesting. So for those who can recommend or who are looking to visit Hamburg, make sure to contact the brethren in Hamburg, and they are happy to give you a tour, I believe. Ms. Malu, same question for you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just want to add something to what Adrian mentioned about taking boat rides or taking the boat to go around Hamburg. And it's really recommended that you take the boat or take the bus, because seeing the view from the boat will give you a different perspective. And seeing the same building, the same place from a bus will give you another perspective. Yeah. So if you have the chance, and some people, what they do, they go on a tour during the day, and then do it also in the evening. So they see the different perspectives and from different perspectives, and also the kind of atmosphere. Yeah, it's got to be different. Yeah, I think you wanted to ask me what other hidden gems can we mention. Well, having lived in the Netherlands, I'd say for over 15 years, one of the one of the architectural styles that really struck me, let's say, and we saw this in the zoom in the icebreaker that we had, the cube houses that you will find in Rotterdam. Just a little bit of history. Rotterdam was completely destroyed during the Second World War, and it was really flattened. And at the moment when you go to Rotterdam, you would really ask the question to yourself, how did Rotterdam manage to rise from the ruins when you see these modern buildings like the cube houses? Yeah. And the Dutch are well known for coming up with different architectural styles. So one is the cube houses. When you see these yellow houses, you ask yourself, how do the people stand, or the people inside those houses stand? Because it's like a cube, that that you move, like this one. What do you call it? The Rubik, or what do you call that, Adrian? The one that was invented by a Hungarian. This guys, okay, but anyway, yeah. So, and there is one house there that serves as a museum, or let's say a sample house that you can visit, so that you will see what it is like inside. Yeah. And according to the marker that's posted outside, it says that the architect made the design to represent trees. Okay, trees. And that's why, and then there's the connection of these houses, and they represent they represent different trees. And then there's another architectural gem in Rotterdam, and this is modern, the huge market. Okay, what do you call that? The smart, no? The market. And if you go in, it's really gigantic. You look at the ceilings and you will see the paintings of vegetables, fruits, and all that. And it's arch. It is an arch, but you have houses there. You have residential houses in that arch, yeah, on both sides. So this just in Rotterdam. And of course, when you go to Amsterdam, you'll see something different too. Like the train station itself, when you go to Amsterdam, that is already an architectural gem. Yeah. So remember to ask, why did the architect build it like this, and so on. Okay. Did the owner of the building want to show power? Just like in the case of the palaces, the castles, let's say in Germany. Why are they so massive? Remember, there were kings and they wanted to show their power. And of course, protect themselves from the enemies. And that's why many of these castles are on the top of the hills. Yeah. And by the way, they also have summer houses, summer castles, summer palaces. That's how rich these people were during that time.
Yes, that's so interesting to hear the story behind the cube houses. So, for example, now in Rotterdam, as you mentioned, right, Ms. Malu, and the Netherlands in general, right? It's way more modernized, right? In its architecture, especially since of the rebuilding after the World War, right? And there's just so much history, no matter where you go, especially here in Europe. There's so much to see and to learn when you visit, especially for example, as you mentioned, Rotterdam. So for all of our viewers from the Netherlands, if you can give us more suggestions or even more places that are like the cubic houses, right? To give us your suggestions, and we can maybe talk about those as well. How much significance all of these architectural or artistic places or structures are, and how big of a part they had in history, either in World War or in any other part of the time that we had here. I have so many comments as well. Who are already giving their suggestions on places to visit here in Central. I have, for example, one comment from Brother Mario Calvello. There are so many beautiful buildings in Berlin, like the Reichstag, etc. Hashtag Berlin. The Reichstag, if you don't know, is also one of the must-see places when you visit Berlin. Of course, Berlin is the capital of Germany, if you haven't known already. And it is definitely also, there's a lot to see, so much history, especially there in Berlin. I'm sure Miss Malu knows definitely more than me. But before we jump into Berlin or any other anything closer to that part of Germany, I am interested in knowing. Um, we were already talking about atmosphere, especially when we were talking about the history and the impression that the architect left on his art piece, right? So I want to go back to Adrian. You said your most favorite hidden gem was the Elbphilharmonie, right? What kind of, since it is different and it is one of the newer or modern structures in Hamburg, what kind of feeling or why is it your favorite? Or what atmosphere does it bring to the whole city for something so modern as the Elbphilharmonie or the Orchestra Hall in?
Ja, warum das Elbphilharmonie interessant finde, weil in der Vergangenheit habe ich oft Hamburg besucht und als ich 2018, ich weiß nicht mehr, dort war, habe ich das Elbphilharmonie gesehen und habe mich gewundert, was ist das für ein Gebäude? Und ich habe mal nachgefragt und sie sagten, das ist das Elbphilharmonie. Und was ich nicht gewusst habe, dass es seit 2017 eröffnet wurde und wusste gar nicht, dass da auch Orchesterkonzerte stattfinden. Aber leider war ich noch nicht drin gewesen. Aber hoffentlich mal kann ich mal ein Konzert mal besuchen kommen können. Hoffentlich mal.
Yes, that would also be one of my wishes. Adrian mentioned that one of his wishes would be to visit or to attend one of the concerts or orchestra concerts that are being held in the Elbphilharmonie, since it is known for holding its opera or orchestra concerts there. He also mentioned that he visited Hamburg a lot in the past as well as now, and from here to now, it was just right there. And he said he visited in 2018 around, and it hasn't always been there. So it was a big surprise, something different in the city. And it's right by the port or right by the harbor as well. So it is a different view and a different kind of structure in the city, right? And he also mentioned that it was established just in 2017. It's not that new, but it is very new in terms of that it's very modern now, right? So it's so going to Elbphilharmonie and all comparing all the other places that we have mentioned, like the cubic houses in Rotterdam or Heidelberg here, the old castle or the old bridge. Miss Malu, what when you do visit, I know you cannot pick a favorite. That is impossible to pick. But from all of these places, what atmosphere did it give you when you do learn about that art history perspective? And what feeling, some say they feel relieved when they visit a city, a specific city, or there's something there that makes them feel something specific. So what kind of atmosphere did you feel when you visited or when you lived in these cities?
All right. Oh, it's a kind of, there's nostalgia, and it's like there is the art appreciation, and we know very well what art does to us. It's like just like music. It's soothing. It calms you down, and looking at the architectural styles and finding out, why was it built like this? Who lived there? What happened? Why was it built? And so on. I mean, it takes you back. It takes you back to, let's say, to a lot of history or to what happened in the past. And then you begin to think that what happened then is still happening at the moment. It's just in different forms, you know. And anyway, let's talk about Heidelberg, where I live also for, let's say, 5 years, I think. Yeah. And I was just really very happy. Yeah, ich mag die Altstadt. I like the old town very much, where you'd find the university, and it is connected to the national hero of the Philippines, Dr. Jose Rizal. And perhaps your parents have already told you that Dr. Rizal stayed in Heidelberg to continue his internship or practice in ophthalmology. He wanted to learn more about ophthalmology because he was so concerned. One is he wanted to treat his mother, who was having already eye problems. At the same time, he wanted to find out what he could bring to the Philippines that could be part of the development in the Philippines. One of the reasons that Rizal came to Europe, especially in Germany, was to see what was going on. If there was something that he could introduce to the Filipino people or to the country, which at that time was under Spain, yeah, he would love to bring it to the Philippines. And then, so because Rizal is one of my favorites. During my childhood years, I would devour a lot of Rizal books, I'd say. And I was so fortunate that I lived in Heidelberg for a while. And so I even asked your parents to help me or take me to the castle. And I would even ask them up to now to take pictures of the places or the houses where Dr. Rizal lived. Yeah. And then if you go out of the city, you will see another place, which is Wilhelmsfeld. So there is the connection. Just a piece of advice or a tip for the young people and for those whose parents are from the Philippines. Whenever you travel, try to ask, is there any connection between this place and the Philippines? Yeah. So that's one, let's say. Berlin, there's also a connection between Rizal and the Philippines. Rizal lived there too for a while. And it was there that he had his novel published. And there is a marker in Berlin. Okay. And if you go, let's go out of Central Europe for a while, but this is still part of Europe. If you go to Barcelona, and many of us have gone to Barcelona, right? If you go to Montjuic, there is a castle there. There is a castle. And in one of the cells of the castle, because that was used as a prison, in one of the cells, Dr. Rizal was detained. He was en route, let's say, from the Philippines to Spain to volunteer as a doctor in Cuba. But then the Spanish government in the Philippines told the Spanish authorities, bring Rizal back here because it looks like the revolution was brewing, and they were blaming Rizal for his novels that stirred, the people to rise against Spain. So Rizal was detained there in that cell on, which is part of the castle in Montjuic, and then he was returned to the Philippines, and he was nearing already his last days. So there's so many things. And then one of the things that I love visiting in Germany, for example, or in other places, are the concert halls. Please, if you're visiting Central Europe and other places in Europe, try to go to a concert. I know it's rather costly, but then it's worth it. It's worth it. And here, just enjoy the architecture of the building and the paintings inside the hall, plus the acoustics, of course. And can you imagine listening to the music of Strauss, Beethoven, in this beautiful atmosphere? Just enjoy it. So I hope that's a good tip already for all those who want to come to Central Europe. And here are some of your guides already, Alicia, Adrian, and many more.
Yes, that's very nice. Thank you so much for that short history lesson. It's actually very, not many know that there is so much connection to the Philippines. Most of us here do have roots from the Philippines, and it is always interesting to find out more, especially about the history, for example, from Jose Rizal, right, as you mentioned, Ms. Malu. And it's very, for someone who lives in Heidelberg, I still sometimes am in awe that I live so close to so much history. And without maybe you realizing it, to our viewers and listeners, maybe you have more history to learn from where you live. There could be hidden hidden stories or hidden art that you have not discovered yet. That's why the beautiful thing about Europe is that there is, you cannot say that you have seen everything. I think the closest to whoever has seen everything, it will be Miss Malu. She has seen the most things in Europe.
Yeah,
but
remember, I'm the eldest.
that's not true. You are
Yeah.
the best adventurer here, the one who explored the most here. So it's always nice to learn more and to discover more. For those especially who live in Europe, you cannot say that you have seen everything and that you have discovered everything, because that's impossible. And there's always, especially here in Central Europe, there is a lot to see. And so many people and brethren here in each city willing to give a tour and willing to tell that story for those who are knowledge in art history. So before we continue with our topic conversation, I know it's so interesting, but before we continue with our topic conversation, we'll first go over a few comments, because I do have a lot of comments here with so many suggestions, so many greetings as well from different districts here in Europe, before we go on to our station break. So I have here from Sister Shara Kal, from Munich, or she's from Hamburg, but she mentioned Munich is one of the best cities in Germany. It has massive Baroque style and architecture, old buildings, and incredibly beautiful castles. The historical arts and culture, #Hamburg. Yes, very true. Munich is also one of those places that are or anywhere in Bavaria is one of the must-sees when you do visit the southern part of Germany, for example. We also have a lot of greetings from our brethren. I'm seeing a lot of Italy South. From Sister Faith Sudara, happy viewing for brethren from local of Roma Sud, district of Italy South. Also happy viewing from local of Roma Sud, same locale and district of Italy South, Shout out to Kuya Adrian. Um, so thank you so much for our viewers and listeners from Italy tuning into our broadcast tonight. And thank you also so much for our actual brethren here from Central Europe tuning in. I have so many comments. I cannot read all of them, but thank you for those who I can see. Sister Linda Calvello, Gat Luman, Annalyn Luman, Eddie Ordinario, Frida Ordinario, Lale Novaiza, Janet Loretta. Thank you so much for tuning into our INCRadio. Make sure to keep commenting and do not forget your hashtag so that you are not left out of the top 3 clusters challenge next week. But before we continue with the rest of our segments, we'll first have our station break. Stay tuned.
This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Ready to discover your new favorite INC original music? Introducing Playlist. Tune in every Monday to Friday from 9 to 10 p.m. for a musical journey like no other. Genres like R&B, acoustic, alternative, love songs, rock, pop, hip-hop, and rap. Each day brings you a different genre of INC original music tailored to match your mood. Looking for the perfect soundtrack to your day? We've got you covered. Join our hosts as they bring you the freshest hits, timeless classics, and everything in between. Catch Playlist live on INCRadio DZM 954 kHz, on the INCRadio YouTube channel, and on the INC Production Company's Facebook page. Set your reminders, spread the word, and don't miss a bit with Playlist. And remember, it's your music, your playlist. See you there!
We need to have solid faith, solid faith.
Get ready to witness the competitive and funny contestants from different schools here on INCRadio virtual game show program, Let's Take a Break, featuring CBI members.
Feel the awe as you hear their cheers, educational games, and of course, Christian values.
Enjoy the excitement and fun here on Let's Take a Break.
Every 4:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon, Philippine Standard Time, only here on INCRadio.
Christian Brotherhood International.
To Central Europa Satellite Studio. Welcome back to our INCRadio Central Europe Satellite Studio. If you have already missed a couple of minutes, our topic conversation again for our refreshment is Timeless Beauty, exploring the artistic and architectural treasures of Central Europe. If you have missed a little bit of the topic conversation, don't worry about that. You can always listen back to it because there is so much to talk about. There is so much art history that we cannot mention all into one broadcast. Hopefully we can have a part 2 of this and talk about more of the treasures here in Central Europe. For all of those commenting, make sure to stay tuned. And all of our listeners and viewers as well to stay tuned for our next coming segments. As well as don't forget to mention your local hashtag to be included in our Top 3 Clusters Challenge. But before we continue, we will first go on to our German is Fun segment led by yours truly, Sister Malu Francisco. Kuyatek, if we can continue with that.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß. Welcome to German is Fun. Willkommen zu Deutsch macht Spaß.
Ich bin's Pastor Malu Francisco, inviting you once again to have fun with us learning German, basic German. Today we'll learn words and phrases in German that have to do with some parts of the house. First, I'll say the words and phrases in English, then the equivalent in German. I'll be saying auf Deutsch, that means in German. All you have to do is repeat after me and let's have fun together. Learning basic German. Haus, das Haus, das Haus. Plural, die Häuser, die Häuser. Window, das Fenster, das Fenster. Note, the ER at the end of the word sounds like a. Die Fenster. Garden, der Garten, der Garten. Plural, die Gärten, die Gärten. Door, die Tür, die Tür. Doors, die Türen, die Türen.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Roof, das Dach, das Dach. Plural, die Dächer, die Dächer. Wall, die Wand, die Wand. That D at the end of the word sounds like a T. Plural, die Wände, die Wände. Chimney, der Schornstein, Schornstein, der Schornstein. Plural, die Schornsteine, die Schornsteine.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
House number, Nummer, and house, house. Put them together, die Hausnummer, the Hausnummer.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Before we end our episode today, once again, the words about some parts of the house. Look at the picture, and from left to right, let's do it. Door, die Tür. Garden, der Garten. Roof, das Dach. Wall, die Wand. Window, das Fenster. Chimney, der Schornstein. House number, die Hausnummer.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
This has been today's episode of German is Fun, Deutsch macht Spaß. Ich bin Schwester Malu Francisco saying Danke fürs Zuschauen. Thank you very much for joining us. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß. German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Thank you so much, Ms. Malu, for leading our German is Fun weekly. I know for all of us, our favorite segment is German is Fun because German is a hard language to master if you have not learned it as a child. So thank you so much, Ms. Malu, especially since you're here with us tonight. Thank you so much always for leading us in our German is Fun segments. So on to our next segment. We have our CFO in action, where we talk about our past activities that we've held in the past week by the different local congregations in our district. If we can start with the first pictures already. While we go over these, make sure to keep commenting and to make sure to let us know if you are part of the locale that is being shown here in our CFO in action. We always love to see all the activities that are being held in our local congregations here. So as we saw already, Kuya Tech was showing our Kadiwa Cooking Challenge held in Berlin, Germany. As you can see, all the youth joining Who doesn't love cooking? Cooking is such a fun activity, um, and so much you can do with it. There's so much food. Who doesn't love food? We all love food, and it's just nice to see all the brethren participating and showing their cooking skills and sharing that their love for food with one another. And Berlin has once again, I know there are a lot of good cooks in Berlin, and they have once more showed their unity again in their Kadiwa cooking challenge. And we have our sister here who won the cooking challenge as well, holding a prize, I believe. And the food does look delicious. I am getting hungry now as well. We also have held our basic sign language seminar this past weekend, which was held district-wide. So we have here different locales being shown. I believe this is the locale Rotterdam being shown as well. There's our Brother Scott, one of our ministers here, learning as well. I think this is Hamburg. They are also learning. It's so important to learn sign language now to also communicate with our deaf community, and also using this as a tool as well to talk about our faith as well, right? So it is one of our missions to learn, just as we learn German, and German is fun, it is also important to us to learn sign language as well to communicate with those who are unable to hear. So lastly, we have our medical mission, which was also held district-wide in the different local congregations here. It is the new year, new us usually, many resolutions, and we are supposed to keep healthy, right? It is very important to always check up on either our blood pressure or our blood sugar. We are blessed with so many nurses and so many locales who are able to lead these activities and who have the knowledge to suggest or advise everyone in the locales on how to stay healthier, especially as this new year begins. So it is very nice to see that every locale was able to participate, and we are excited to see more local activities for our next week's CFO in action. So before we go on to a few words from our topic conversation, I'd like to first give everyone what they have been waiting for, which is the announcement of the winners from the top 3 clusters from last week. So Kuya Tech, if you could cue the video and no longer have the suspense of knowing who were the winners from last week.
Third place, Bonn and Luxembourg cluster. Second place, Netherlands cluster. First place, Berlin cluster.
Congratulations to all of the clusters who won 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place from last week. Congratulations to Berlin, to the Netherlands, and to the Bonn Luxembourg clusters. Congratulations to you all. A round of applause to you. Make sure to keep commenting. Our broadcast is not yet over, so you do have a chance to still win for next week's Top 3 Clusters Challenge. So once more, congratulations to all of the locals and clusters. But before we end our broadcast, one last question to top it off our topic for tonight. To you, Adrian, again. The Elbphilharmonie is an iconic, let's say, iconic building, especially since it is in a very beautiful location in Hamburg, right by the harbor, right by the port. Besides it being new and modern, rather than the other buildings that are in Central Europe that are, for example, here in Heidelberg, Old Town, or rather from the Baroque time or from the other times that they were built. The Elbphilharmonie, I know you've already mentioned that it's your favorite and that it is one of the newer ones. But when you do get to visit again Hamburg, it is obvious you will be visiting that one again, right? What kind of concert would you want to visit when you're there, or attend when you're there?
Also auf jeden Fall, was ich besuchen möchte, was ich nicht mal lange gemacht habe, Berlin, weil es ist natürlich die Hauptstadt von Deutschland und da befindet sich das Brandenburger Tor und was ich auch in den Comments gesehen habe, es hat sehr viel Historie, kann man auch sehr empfehlen, Berlin zu besuchen und was ich nicht gewusst habe von historisch, dass Berlin damals geteilt war aus West-Berlin und Ost-Berlin. Und ich kann es auch empfehlen, einmal dort Berlin besuchen zu kommen.
Yes, thank you so much, Adrian. He mentioned actually to visit Berlin, which is also a bit farther away from me. I have visited once before. I would love to visit again. He mentioned he'd love to visit since there is so much history as well. That will have to be a history lesson for next time, since there's a lot way more history there. Especially he mentioned the east-west part that was divided, and that there's the Brandenburger Tor as well. He mentioned, and there's just so much history and so much to see in Berlin. You'll have to visit yourselves, or next time we'll maybe discuss Berlin and its history in our next topic, in the next part of this topic conversation. But for you, Miss Malu, so we've had Hamburg, Rotterdam, Heidelberg, Amsterdam, and so much more to see. All of them are iconic in their own ways, right? What would you want to visit if you visit again in Europe? What would you want to visit?
Yeah, for one, yes, I'd love to go to Dresden and Leipzig, because when Germany was divided into East and West, okay, Dresden, Leipzig, they're on the eastern side, and I had a chance to visit both Berlins, East and West, during that time. Well, okay, you can compute my age at this time. See, all right, and okay, I'm now 72, and it's beautiful. Berlin is beautiful culturally, but go outside Berlin, visit Dresden, visit Leipzig, and other places there. And of course, if you go up to, let's say, where is Hanover, where you can go and visit the Baroque garden. I think it's or I forgot the name, but I was there. The garden is beautiful. It's Baroque, they'd say, okay? And still so many places to explore. But one wish on my bucket list is really, well, this has nothing to do with architecture, but I'd love to see and follow Vincent van Gogh, since we're talking about art, from the Netherlands up to South France and then back to Paris where he died, and then go to the Vincent van Gogh Museum. Okay. I'll never get tired of Germany, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and the other places. And of course, Switzerland. There's much to explore. There's much. So for all of you who are already there, make good use of your stay.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Alu. We are excited to have you again if you ever decide to visit or take a tour around here. We're always happy to have you here. We do miss you a lot. So before we end our broadcast, we would like to thank everyone, all of our listeners and viewers for joining us. Especially thank you to our panel for giving us your insight into the architectural and artistic beauty here in Central Europe. Thank you also to our district CFO advisor, Brother Scott Augustin, and our assistant district minister, Brother Jason Delalas. We would also like to thank our district minister, Brother Joel B. Catalan, and also our INC Media Productions Chief, Brother Montreal Boy, and our INC Radio Station Manager, Brother Wally Taray. Thank you also to our CFO Coordinator and CEBSI President, Brother Angelo Aranio Manalo. And most importantly, we would like to thank the church administration and our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo. Thank you all for watching INC Radio Central Europe, and we'll see you all next week. Bye!
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.